Okay, YouTubers, this is the Angryprepper. So today's video, we're going to talk about, should you wait on a food line if you're already prepped? Now, someone had asked me that question a long time ago. I'm pretty sure it was asked recently as well. And I came to the conclusion after thinking about it, it depends on your situation, depends on what situation you're in, it depends on where you are in America, if you're in the city, if you're in the town. Obviously, if you're in the rural area, no. That makes no sense to come into town and wait on a food line if you're already prepped and prepared. If you live in a city and you're prepped and prepared, maybe you don't want to put yourself in danger, right? So, with that, I think you have to play it out. You just can't, it's not a blanket answer, and it's not a right and it's not a wrong. Because, listen, the one wrong answer maybe, and that this is me, guys, maybe, if you're looking to get online on a food line to get more food, but you're already squared away for a year or two, maybe that's a scumbag move, or maybe you're just prolonging your provisions. However you want to look at it. Me personally, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm squared away. If the disaster looks like it's going to last a longer period of time, I might consider it. But I have to be like down and out or close to it. Now, if food is being given away and you depleted half of your food supply and we're 2-3 years in and you don't see anything lightening up, you don't see it getting better, maybe you want to consider it. But if it's something short term, like a hurricane, tornado, earthquake, perhaps. An earthquake, let's say here in New York City, will last a hell of a lot. The repercussions of an earthquake will last a lot longer in a city like this than, let's say, somewhere like California, which is, they're used to it. But a city like this would get decimated, and it would go on for years. Would I entertain that? No, I would probably just move at that point, right? But you also have to keep in mind it depends on the shit-hits-the-fan scenario. Is it localized? Is it nationwide? Is it worldwide? That's what's going to dictate whether or not you're going to wait on that food line or not. Now, most of us are not going to wait on that food line. Most of us are going to keep our asses home. We're not going to put ourselves in any kind of unwarranted danger. We don't need to be out there. We don't need to do that. Then fine. But if you live in a city like New York and you have nosy neighbors, maybe you want to wait on that line just to throw everyone off. Maybe you want to wait on that line for the old lady who can't wait on that line. She can't wait 2-3 hours on a food line. So maybe you'll wait. So these are things that you might want to consider. And listen, if you're waiting online to throw one of your nosy neighbors off because they suspect that you have food, that's why you haven't come outside in a couple of days or a week or two, maybe you want to throw them off, now you're waiting on the food line, you could do that, right? You can give that food to someone who needs it. Now, like I said, in a city like New York, it's pretty big, so I doubt anyone's going to be paying that much attention. But if you live in a small town or a small city, a small town, even most small towns are all on the level or prepped or going to have their own system in place. Here in New York City, this city's so big, I doubt anybody's going to be paying attention. You live in a smaller city, some people might pay more attention to you. You live in a building like I do, some people might pay attention. So you're going to want to explore that option at the very least, or entertain it in the back of your head. Again, do you want to put yourself in an unwanted situation of conflicts, possible conflicts, possibly getting robbed after the food was given to you, right? If it's a shit-hits-the-fan scenario, if it's a scenario where it's like, people are online getting boxes or bags of food, you might get robbed on the way home. Hopefully you have something on you. You have some kind of weapon of self-defense on you if you live in a city where you're waiting on that food line and now you have to get back home. Hopefully you're smart enough to have something on you. But again, it's an option that you want to entertain. Now, here's the other thing. If you're going to wait on that line, and this is weeks in now, and you're waiting on that line, maybe you're going to want to put on bigger clothing. Maybe you're going to want to get bigger clothing of the same style of clothing you would wear, so it looks like you're losing weight, when in fact you're just putting on bigger clothing. But they're not going to know that. And make sure if you're going to put on that bigger clothing, make sure it's dirty, it's worn out, it's been washed a few thousand times, just so that it looks worn, so that they're not like, oh, he put on new clothes that's bigger, so make them look, because some people are that savvy, believe it or not, and then some people are not. Some people are like, oh my God, he's losing weight. You know, and I'm not saying the fucking like 2 weeks later. You know, I would say 3 to 4 weeks later do that. Don't do it a week later. You know, don't wait till the shit happens and a week later you're putting on big clothes, looking like you're skinny. They're gonna think something's wrong with you. Now they're gonna think you're sick and dying. So, you know, you have to play that out with time. Everything with a food line situation is time, right? So if you're going to wait on that line, you're either doing it for somebody else, or you are asked out, or you lost your preps, or you didn't have as much as you thought you have. Right? So again, that's something that you should entertain. And this is why we prep, guys, so that we don't end up on that food line. I don't want to end up on that fucking food line, right? That's why I have more than enough shit. I'm probably about, I was at a year and a half, then I went down to a year because, you know, kids grow up, they eat more. Now I'm back to a year and a half. I'm trying to get to 2 to 3 years. And that's just city prepping. Guys, if I get a home, forget about it. I'm probably going to have it well in the 5-10 years worth of food preps. But right now, the house could only sustain, if I get every corner of my home, I could probably squeeze 5 to 6 years worth of food in the apartment, right? But right now, it's a year and a half in the apartment. And no, I'm sorry, scratch that. It's a year in the apartment, and it's about 6 to 7 months in the storage unit. Problem with the storage unit is I have to travel to it. That's the bad side of it. Waiting on a food line would be a lot easier because it would be closer to home. But I'd rather take my chances getting to a storage unit that I can get into at any given time and coming back out with the food and making it here versus waiting online, having eyes on me wait online, and then when I step off that line with my box of food or bag of food, some asshole tries to rob me. So like I said before, if you're doing this for somebody else, right? If you're giving food to somebody else, so let's say you have your preps, you don't need it, but you're gonna wait online for somebody else, or you're gonna wait online to throw everybody's thought process off. Oh, he has food. Well, no, he doesn't. He's waiting online with us. If you're gonna gather that food for somebody else, you gotta make sure that other person doesn't say a fucking word about what you're doing for them. Obviously, it's gotta be a neighbor you trust. Obviously, if you're going to do that, it should also be an older neighbor who can't do it, right? So you might put yourself in that position. You might do it for somebody else who is incapable of doing it, right? Either they're elderly, they're handicapped, maybe they're, I don't know, special needs, right? Some special needs do live on their own, but I wouldn't trust special needs to be out here on a food line because they would definitely be taken advantage of. Some of them, not all. Right? So there's variations of why you might want to wait on that line. As far as for yourself, if you are squared away, you shouldn't be on that line unless you absolutely have to, unless you're looking to store more food. Unless the situation is going to get worse and you know it's going to get worse, then maybe you could entertain that. If you're doing it for somebody else, again, make sure you are safe about it as well. Wait on that line and look at who is hanging around those food lines. If there's a food line that's ongoing, make sure you have eyes on people who are looking to rob and steal. Now, the problem with the robbing and stealing is that people are like, well, if it's the National Guards, they're not gonna rob them. No, they're not going to rob you right in front of the National Guards. They're gonna wait till you get 3, 4, 5 blocks away where the National Guards is out of sight, actually, and out of reach. Then they're gonna try to rob you. So you have to keep that in mind, guys. There's a lot of tactical chess playing moves, if you will, when it comes to coming outside and entertaining a food line. It's not just waiting online and going, man, it's a nice day, you're talking to the people in front and behind you, and you guys are striking a conversation. No, you got to keep your head on a swivel. You got to make sure you know what's going on, who's looking at what, where the thieves are, who's standing where, why is that guy standing way the fuck off in the distance, and all he's doing is watching. Right? You got to look for that guy there. These are like these are little things or tips you should be looking out for when you're on a food line. Now, the only reason why I thought of that is because drug dealers have lookouts. Drug dealers have lookouts that look out for cops. If a situation like this was to happen, they'd be lookout for people with food, and they'd go for the weakest person first. So they might not rob me right out of the gates, at least not initially. But they're gonna rob the old lady. They're gonna rob the single mother. They're gonna rob the hipster-looking dad with the ponytail. They're definitely gonna rob him. Nonetheless, they're gonna go for the weaker people first, then work their way up to stronger people or tougher-looking people or people that you're not sure how that situation is gonna go. So just keep that in mind, guys. When you are out here, if this shit gets bad, if you are on a food line, you find yourself on a food line, if it's a localized incident, you probably don't have to worry about it as much. I know Katrina, there was some things like that going on, but it wasn't as bad as, well, I don't know what to compare it to. I really don't know what to compare it to. In Africa, where Somalians and Ethiopians, the warlords were taking the food. That's fucking extreme. That's an opposite end extreme, right? Warlords were taking food, whereas here, you might have drug dealers taking food once you're out of earshot and eyesight of the National Guards. You have to keep that in mind. You have to really think about what you're going to do before you land on that line. Before you even entertain standing on a line, you got to fucking figure everything out before you get to that point. What are you going to do? What's your exit plan? Are you going to take the same way back home every day? No, you're not, right? Clearly. Where are you going to stand? Who are you looking out for? Who's the fucking bad guys? What's the gang in the neighborhood? What the gang's association is in the neighborhood? Are they drug dealers? Are they armed dealers? Right? You have to play that stuff out. You have to figure that stuff out before you step outside and end up on that food line. Hopefully that makes sense. Now, I'm thinking from a more urban perspective. A lot of you who live in the suburbs or in a rural area, guess what? Suburbs and rural area, you are less likely going to have to deal with shit like this. A rural area, you're definitely not. If you're a homesteader, you're definitely not going to entertain this shit. But if you're a city dweller like myself and millions of others, you're going to have to entertain those ideas. All right, guys, so other than that, this is The Angry Prepper. Thank you for watching. You can like and subscribe to this channel. You can also follow me on the Angry Truth channel, where you can like and subscribe to that channel as well. You can also follow me on Instagram and Facebook as The Angry Prepper, and as The Angry Truth, you can follow me on Instagram. Other than that, guys, thank you for watching.